Hi guys, I have some nice work today for those of you who would like to work in a chair. I have a band attached over here at the height of a doorknob. So I measured my doorknob in my room is right at my hip height, and I'm just able to attach that to a railing here. So you can also attach your band to a doorknob or anything that you have. We're going to start with some standing exercises for those of you who can stand. For those of you who cannot stand, you're going to sit on the edge of your chair here, and you're going to follow along. Instead of standing and sitting, which is what I'm going to start with, those of you who can't stand and sit are going to march. So you might just want to hold on to your band, and you're going to sit in your chair, and you're just going to come to a march. But we can do that as a warm-up anyway. So let's just do a couple more of those. We're just activating your hip flexors. We're just trying to sit as tall as we can with our spine long. I'm not arching my back, and I'm not trying to curl forward. Then I'm going to see if I can stand up. Okay, this is the hard part. I'm grabbing my band. I want it to be a pretty heavy band here, and I'm going to lean slightly forward. I'm going to push down into my band. I'm going to push myself to a standing position, and then I want to lean slightly forward again and sit back down in my chair. Sitting to standing is actually a really very difficult exercise to do. And it requires a lot of muscle groups. You know, pretty much your entire body is working here. Now, if you can't sit to stand with a band, you can also stand with the back of the chair, another chair in front of you, so that you're actually pushing off the back of a chair to stand up. Now remember, your option is to just march in your chair if you can't stand to sit or sit to stand. We're gonna do 2 more of those. Just press it up and have a seat, and then maybe 1 more. Now these are really difficult for some people, so maybe you're only gonna do 2 or 3 of those. Okay, once I get my legs activated, I'm gonna stay seated. I'm gonna pull my chair in a little bit just so I can be in the frame a little bit more. I have about a medium weight band here. I'm going to sit as tall as I can, and I'm going to start to pull my arms back towards my hips to activate my upper body a little bit more. And I want you to think about sitting as tall as you can. I'm pushing my sitting bones and the back of my upper thigh into the chair and sitting as tall as I can. I'm not arching and I'm not rounding. I'm just trying to sit in a comfortable position, activating the back of my arms. Now we want to activate the quadriceps muscle, the top of the leg muscle, as we do that. So we're going to add a little leg kick. I'm going to extend one leg out and then bring it back, and then extend the other leg out and bring it back. And as I'm doing that, I'm trying not to lean forward or back. I'm trying just to extend that leg to activate the leg muscle. This is hard to do because as soon as I activate my thigh muscle, my leg muscles there, my hip flexors want to pull me forward. I'm going to do 2 more of those. See if you can try to do about 5 to 8 of those on each leg. Now to really get challenging, we're going to make sure that we have a good base of support here, and I'm going to see if I can slide both of my legs out at the same time, and then both of them in at the same time. Inhale as you pull back to extend, and then bend that back in again. Out, and in again. Let's do 2 or 3 more of those. Each time I do that, I'm trying to tighten up my leg muscles. And you can choose to do as many or as few as you want to. I'm just giving you some options today. Nice job. Let's do 1 more maybe. Good. Now if those stand to sits weren't for you, that's okay, because we're going to go back to our marching. I'm just going to change to a bicep curl. So I'm going to start to pull my elbows in a little bit here to activate my biceps. I'm not trying to move my elbows to the side. I'm just pulling my thumbs basically towards my shoulders here. And let's see if we can do 3 or 4 more of those. These are an easy muscle group to target, and it's a nice, easy muscle group to work, and a muscle group that we use every day. So it's nice to use those. Now I'm going to start to angle my thumbs to the side. like I'm hitchhiking a little bit. So my elbows are still staying at my rib cage, but I'm just pushing my thumbs to the side a little bit like I'm hitchhiking, trying not to move my spine. You're gonna start to feel this underneath your armpits a little bit more and into your shoulder rotators. For those of you who might have a little bit of arthritis, you know, as much movement as you can tolerate. All right, and then I'm gonna grab my band. I have no arms on my chair, which is really good, and I'm gonna turn myself towards you. So you're gonna turn to the side of your chair, and then I'm gonna grab my band. I'm gonna grab one of my bands so that it's long, but it's not completely tight yet. And I'm gonna extend my arm out to the side and bring it in. I'm pushing out to the side, and I'm bringing it in. If resistance is too difficult, if you can't push that arm out to the side with resistance, try to just move your arm out to the side a little bit without resistance. It's okay, you know, to just try to get it moving. Now I have my hand below my shoulder. And for those of you who have shoulder issues, you're gonna wanna keep your hand below your shoulder. You don't wanna bring your hand above your shoulder. But for those of you who are a little bit more flexible and wanna use the upper arm a little bit more, I'm gonna now start to angle my arm up and out and in. Up and out and in. And I'm gonna do 3 or 4 more of those, reaching out and pulling in. This really starts to activate the upper back part of my arm, my shoulder, my scapula. Whew, I'm gonna do 1 more. Nice job. Okay, and that's gonna come down. I'm gonna let go of my bands for a minute. I have a little circular band here. If you don't have one of those, it's totally fine to take the bands that are attached to your doorknob and to bring those around your knees to create a little bit of resistance right here. And I'll just do that one. I'll just use that one because that way, for those of you who are using this kind of a band, that'll work just fine. I happen to have a nice armrest right here, but you don't have to do that. I'm gonna keep my hand right here, and then I'm gonna keep my pelvis nice and stable as I move my leg to the side. I'm resisting by holding onto the band there. I'm staying as tall as I can with my spine, and I'm just tapping that leg out and in. I'm trying to move it independently from the rest of my body. And let's do 6, 5, those are hard, 4, even a tiny little movement, even 1 inch of movement is a big success because that's a lot of movement in the hip there. And 1, and then of course whatever we do on one side we want to do on the other side. So I'm going to start the same thing. I'm going to push out and in. And the goal here is to keep the spine as much in a normal position as possible. You know, as we start to age and little things creep up, it's very difficult to keep our skeleton in perfect alignment, but when we're sitting, we have a little bit more control of what's happening with our pelvis and our shoulders. So try to keep those things as aligned as possible. Just do as many as you can do, take a break, and then try it again. I'm just giving you guys some options to keep your hips and your legs busy. Good. All right, now if you have the little circular band on, you know, the one that you bring around your knees, you're gonna take that off. I also have a couple little hand weights here, and if you don't have hand weights and you wanna use like little soup cans or bags of rice or something like that, that's fine too. So now we're gonna go back to our little bicep curl, and I want you to curl in and then extend the arm completely. So on this one, instead of working on the up motion, it's the down motion. I want you to let that arm completely elongate. That's it. We're sitting tall. We're just trying to, this action of just sitting tall requires a lot of abdominal work, requires a lot of spinal work. So just this simple action right here is doing a lot. Of course, we can add on. We can add a kick there. This is neuromuscular conditioning, right? Neuromuscular coordination. So this mind-body action where we're doing 2 separate things with different parts of the body confuses the body and actually stimulates brain activity. So that's a really good thing. Then we can make that even harder by doing one side at a time. Maybe that's easier. And then we can confuse you even more by maybe doing opposite arm, opposite leg. There we go. So add on, do some things that are going to confuse you a little bit. It doesn't matter if it's a particular routine or not, right? We're just trying to get moving a little bit. There, so that gets those leg muscles working a lot. Now I want you to lift and lower your heels. I'm pushing my toes into the mat, and I'm trying to lift and lower my heels here. I'm trying to actually physically push the floor away to activate my calf muscles and my ankle muscles a little bit. And I'm just holding my weight. So I'm just giving my arms an isometric contraction while I'm lifting and lowering my heels here. That's really important. The dorsiflexion and the plantar flexion of the feet is really important for our mobility. Good, just do a couple more of those. Of course, everything we do on one side, we do on the other. So, all right, I'm gonna drop my weights here. Now we did the arm extension on one side, but we didn't do it on the other side. So I'm gonna turn around for a second. Well, actually I don't need to turn around. You probably can remember that, but you wanna turn around and you wanna make sure that you're extending that arm out to the side a little bit. Even if you're not using a band, maybe you're just tapping your chest and taking that arm out to the side, and then maybe you're just tapping your chest and trying to reach that arm out, or you're doing that angled stretch here. Okay, I'm gonna turn back towards my bands here. I'm gonna work the back part of my upper arm here. So I'm gonna take my arms and I'm gonna take them pretty wide. I'm gonna keep them at shoulder height here, and then I'm gonna pull back, really trying to squeeze my shoulder blades together. So in this one, I'm intentionally trying to open my chest and pull my shoulder blades together. I'm trying not to push my chin or my head forward, so I'm not trying to push my head forward as my arms go back. I want all of that to stay in that nice plane in space. This is a great posture exercise. It's a really nice exercise to get you thinking about sitting tall, tall, tall. Probably doing a lot of TV watching during our quarantine period. Let's do maybe one or two more. Do those until you just feel it's a little bit effortful, not until you feel a strain, because we want you to be mobile the next day. Okay, now for those of you who might have a little bit of spinal stenosis or arthritis, forward flexion typically feels okay for you, but it's really going to depend on your own body. If you have some other issues in your spine, rods or pins in your spine that prevent you from folding forward, then you're not going to want to do this exercise. So you'll just, if you have rods and pins in your back, you're just going to tip forward and back a little bit. You're just leaning slightly forward. For those of you who can round the body, I'm going to put a little bit of resistance in my bands here, and I'm actually going to feel like I'm curling myself up and over a ball, using my straps to lean into, to lay down on my legs. And then I want to pull my straps towards the chair as I round up to try to come back up. Now make sure you take it slowly. Sometimes forward folding, rounding like this can cause a little bit of dizziness. When you're sitting, of course, if you get dizzy, there's no chance of falling, but pull and come right back up again. And then we're just going to do one more of those. So I'm just forward folding. I'm flexing my spine a little bit, pulling my belly button in towards my spine. And I'm coming all the way up. Okay, if standing is an option for you, then I want you to you can grab your doorknob if you have your doorknob out in front of you to pull yourself up to a standing position. And I'm going to turn my chair around. So I'm going to turn my chair around so that the back of my chair is towards me here. So I have my back of my chair on one side and my doorknob on the other. So if you're not a super stable person, You have your chair to help you and you have your doorknob to help you right here. We're gonna do tiny little leg circles. Okay, we ready? We're just gonna point and go to the side. So I want you to go point front, point side, point front, point side, point front, point side, point front, point side. Other leg, point front, point side. I'm not moving my skeleton, I'm just trying to move my leg independently. Standing is a lot, right? Just standing is a lot. Let's do one more. And then standing, marching, this is something you can all do. We're gonna finish with this. I'm gonna say goodbye and I'm gonna march you out. And as I march and I say goodbye, you guys have a great day. Try to add some of those exercises into your daily routine if you can, okay? I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys really soon. See ya.